Hi, welcome to Secrets of Irving.
Mighty Isis.
Our main character today is Carrie Anson. Let's meet her.
Hey, Carrie!
Greg, dear boy.
What are you dressed up for this
I
time?
am the ghost of the past and the spirit of the now.
Could be. You do look a little spooky.
He has a different idea of spooky than I do.
Hey, listen, speaking of ghosts, I thought you were going to become one at the Destruction Derby last Saturday. I never figured you'd get out in one piece.
Don't be silly. With all this blubber I carry around, they couldn't hurt me.
I don't know why I bother with you. You're hopeless.
My lovely.
Pay attention, Greg. She's telling you something important in case you don't already know it.
What are you going to do next?
Oh, something worthy of my talents.
Carrie, you are a nut. But you're a million laughs. I'll catch you later.
Later. Nice to know somebody's happy.
Initially, I got annoyed at that line, but I have to remind myself that this is a kid's show. Kids don't always pick up on the implications of things, so it's necessary to say it plainly like that sometimes. Either way, Carrie is headed for trouble, and I'm not sure her friend Greg understands how serious it is. Andrea Thomas is in her lab doing some electrical experiments and chatting with Tut. It's a good thing it's Andrea Thomas and not Joanna Cameron, because Miss Cameron hated that bird and wanted it gone. From what I've read, the feeling was mutual.
Now here's it. Now here's it. This is your Pied Piper speaking. All you cats who want to go to Hamlin, follow me. Just follow your little old Pied Piper to the land of hamburgers, ice cream, and all that good stuff.
That girl.
I think she's using the same car she was driving in the demolition derby Greg mentioned. It looks like it fell off a few cliffs.
What? Something's wrong. Carrie's in trouble.
It drives like it fell off a few cliffs, too. She has no brakes, no steering, and the throttle is stuck.
Mighty Isis.
But help is on the way if Carrie can hang on for a few seconds longer.
Turn back to me. Stop.
We're not asking how she did that or where a power like that came from. She's Isis, so there.
Are you all right? Oh, sure. What can happen to the Queen of the Uglies? That's a terrible thing to say. A person's got to be realistic. You can't expect other people to like you unless you like yourself first. Unless you know where I can get a body transplant. What's the like?
Too bad she doesn't have the power to drive all that horrible stuff out of a person's head. Thing is, nobody is born thinking like Carrie does. Somebody put those ideas in her head and convinced her that she's not attractive and never will be. Nothing Isis says will shake that conviction. Kids like Carrie don't develop that opinion of themselves on their own. Anybody who grew up looking less than perfect knows she had lots of help because kids are cruel, heartless monsters. By the time they reach high school or beyond, most of them have grown out of it and learned to start looking below the surface, but the damage is already done.
Your mind, your sense of humor. You always keep the kids laughing.
Don't tell me you also don't get it, Isis. Ever hear Smokey Robinson's song, Tears of a Clown?
And as soon as it stops, the guys go off with the chicks. You know, the ones that look great in bikinis. Nobody cares if they got a mind. Carrie, you are an intelligent girl. Believe me. I'd rather not be so intelligent. I could just be a little prettier.
Isis has no idea what to say to that, especially since she looks like she does. She has to take off before she attracts too much attention, so she just leaves it at that. Isis seems to be a little off her game today. Maybe she's hungry. Let's have lunch.
I brought some of my special homemade fried chicken I had left over from last night, and some potato salad.
Sounds great.
I have a couple of deviled egg sandwiches and a cucumber salad.
What did you bring, Rick?
Going by what's in his hands, I'm going to guess he brought an appetite.
What do you mean, what did I bring? You guys invited me.
Invited you? Well, we just said, why don't you have lunch with us?
Well, if that's not an invitation, what is?
As if they wouldn't share with him. You get the feeling that without them, he'd starve.
You know something, Mr. Mason? I think you ought to get married.
I'm going to.
You are? When?
As soon as I find someone who looks like Isis and cooks like you.
So if he ever finds out Andrea is Isis, she has to marry him? She's going to have to see that in the rule book. The conversation turns to Carrie and how they can help her.
The elections for student body president are coming up, right?
Right.
What would happen if, quote, spontaneous, unquote, campaign started to get Carrie elected?
Is this something she wants to do? Is she interested in being student body president? That might be a good thing to know before you go much further. Her friend Greg is in one of Rick's classes, so he'll put a bug in Greg's ear to get the ball rolling. Greg thinks it's a great idea.
Well, sometimes I'm almost a little afraid to talk to her.
How come?
Well, you get too serious with her and she starts to clown around. It's like she doesn't want you to get too close to her.
You know, I know what you mean.
Maybe you guys should be having this conversation in a more private place than out here where everybody on campus can hear you.
You know, and the way she talks about herself? Carrie Anson, the female Moby Dick, Miss 20th Century Ugly. Boy, you know, it's going to be tough to change that image into a contender for student body president.
As I said, Carrie can only draw one conclusion from what she heard.
Well, what'd you expect, dummy? That anybody would really think you were good enough to be student body president?
So she does want to do this, but from Rick and Greg's conversation, nobody's told her the idea yet.
Vote for the candidate who looks like this.
Neat, huh?
Carrie, when are you going to stop doing this?
Doing what?
Putting yourself down.
Aw, come on, Greg. It's just a joke.
I don't think comparing yourself to a balloon is funny.
Okay, you don't like that? How's this for an idea? I challenge my opponents to an eat-a-thon.
While Greg is trying to pry one serious moment out of her, Andrea and friends are at the local marina.
Rick, this is the third time you've invited us to go boating, and this is the third time we haven't even left the dock.
When did Rick get a boat? Why did Rick get a boat? I had one for a brief time, and the saying is true. BOAT stands for break out another 1,000. Unless, of course, you can con free labor out of your friends.
Is this boat glued to its slip?
You don't understand. Half the fun of boating is the preparation.
Fun for who?
He tries to bribe them with a cold drink and a 10-minute break. He is not paying attention.
Well, time's up. Let's get back to work. Hippity hop. Hey, wait a minute. Where are you going? Come back here. That's mutiny.
More precisely, a successful mutiny. Speaking of mutiny,
Carrie, you could have this election locked up if you wanted to.
Well, come on, Greg. I know you never really believed I stood a chance.
You do, huh? How do you know that?
I just know, that's all.
Why do you think I've been beating my brains out?
Laughs, what else? Like me.
Well, thanks a lot for wasting my time.
we have more than one in progress. Carrie thinks she needs a big publicity stunt, and she has an idea. It involves Rick's boat and Andrea talking him into letting Carrie borrow it. He'd be more inclined to loan out his mustache, but Andrea says she'll ask him when they meet later. They're supposed to be playing tennis.
No, that's all right. I just got here myself. There's a storm coming in, and I wanted to make sure the boat was secure.
Speaking of your boat.
Do you know who I almost ran into? Well, actually, it was vice versa.
Who?
Carrie Anson. She was coming into the marina just as I was leaving.
Oh, no. They compare notes and both come to the same conclusion.
I better check on the boat.
Right.
Andrea will transform and Isis will go look for it out in the bay. Carrie is on the boat, stopped in the middle of open water, and ready to begin her stunt.
Mayday! Mayday! This is Carrie Anson aboard the Star Tracker 2. Mayday! Mayday!
Star Tracker, this is the Coast Guard. What is your position? I say again, Star Tracker, we read your mayday. Give us your position.
That doesn't make every newscast in town. I don't deserve to be student body president.
So she's not tempted to respond, she rips the microphone off. Isis can't seem to locate the boat, and the storm is getting closer.
I guess it's time to head back now.
Oh, no!
I'm sorry I blew up your boat, Mr. Mason. I didn't mean to, honest. You don't climb into the smoke. You try to move away from it. And the boat should have a bilge pump that takes care of that water automatically, but I guess you blew that up too. Isis has finally located the boat.
Isis, thank goodness. I can't get the motor started and there's a leak in the boat.
I pulled a really dumb stunt this time, and I'm in a lot of trouble. More than you know, Carrie. There's a storm coming in, and I can't help you here and stop the storm. I'm gonna need a little help on this one.
Oh, I see. Captain Marvel is a little help. I'm sure he'll be happy to hear that.
Now to find Captain Marvel. There he is. Tut, bring Captain Marvel. I need him. Fly due west.
While Tut is doing that, Isis has to hold the storm back until Captain Marvel gets there.
Oh, zephyr winds which blow on high, lift me now so I can fly.
While she's taking care of that and Carrie is still bailing, we see Captain Marvel.
Looks like little houseworkers needed here.
Things are a little tight for him and Mentor right now, so he's moonlighting as a road crew. It looks good on the resume when you say you can replace a bulldozer.
Tut, what is it? Did Isis send you?
No, he just wandered over for a chat because it was a slow day.
Which way is she? West of here. All right, Tut, I'll take care of it from here.
Wait a minute. Isis said,
Fly due west.
and he just said,
West of here.
so Tut is going to lead him back to Isis by taking him clear around the globe rather than figure out which way is east. That seems frightfully inefficient. Isis has stopped the storm's progress, but she has to stay there and hold it.
Of course, that's it. Isis can't hold back the storm and still bring the boat in at the same time.
What? Tut should have already told you that. He lands on the boat. Yeah, he can just fly above it and tow it back to the marina like he did that car with the fake Captain Marvel in it. Or he can do that. Why waste energy flying when there's a perfectly good water ski rope there to hang on to? To be fair, he's clearly doing the best he can to keep it under the water and out of sight. I know I couldn't do any better, so credit where it's due. We're back at the marina and all is well, as long as we don't bring up the condition of Rick's boat.
I've learned my lesson. 2 lessons. If people like you and Captain Marvel and Greg can go through what you did just for me, well, maybe I'm not as worthless as I thought.
The second lesson is no more crazy stunts. She'll have to answer to the Coast Guard for the fake Mayday call, too. When the Coast Guard hears about the superhero-level scare that got put into her, they'll probably be lenient.
Speaking of Andrea, she missed all the excitement again. You know, Isis, I'm beginning to think that Andrea's afraid of you. I mean, you are pretty rough competition for a woman.
He's saying Andrea should be jealous of herself.
Really? What would you think of Captain Marvel as competition for a man?
Cindy and Carrie, why don't I give you a ride home?
We've seen Rick with his shirt off. He's a lot more chiseled than Captain Marvel is, but Rick can't double as a bulldozer or a water ski boat, so he's feeling a little insecure. You can't blame him. I'll see you next time on Secrets of Irving.